Hey everyone, and welcome to your AML channel. If you're in the world of compliance, you've probably asked yourself at some point, is my AML program actually working? How can I prove it to my boss, my board, or even the regulators? Gut feelings don't cut it in the world of financial crime prevention. You need data. That's where key performance indicators, or KPIs, come in. Today, we're breaking down some essential anti-money laundering KPIs that any company, no matter the industry, can use to measure its performance and build a rock-solid compliance program. Stick around. You're going to want to take notes on this. All right, let's jump right into our first metric. This one is all about your team. First up, we have customers per compliance employee. The formula is super straightforward. You just take your total numbers of customers and divide it by the number of employees you have on your compliance team. So, why is this so important? This simple calculation is a powerful metric for assessing workload and how you're allocating your resources. So think about it. If you have a really high ratio, it's a potential red flag. It indicates your team members are each responsible for a massive number of customers, which can easily lead to burnout, stress, and costly mistakes. On the flip side, a very low ratio might suggest that you're not using your team to their full potential, which points to an underutilization of resources. It's all about finding that sweet spot to keep your team effective and your company protected. Okay, so you've got your team's workload figured out. But what happens when your company starts growing fast? That brings us to our next KPI, the new customer insertion rate. The formula here is the number of new customers you brought on in a year divided by your total number of customers. This is a direct measure of your institution's growth. And while growth is awesome, it also brings the potential for increased AML risks. Every new customer needs to be properly onboarded and monitored. This KPI is your secret weapon when you need to ask for more budget. If your company's customer base is exploding, this metric is the proof you need to show that your compliance team and your resources need to grow with it. All right, let's shift gears from customers to the alerts they generate. This next one is huge. Let's talk about suspicious activity reports, or SARs, per transaction volume. This is a critical KPI for your transaction monitoring program. To get this number, you divide the number of SARs you filed by your total transaction volume. This KPI is incredibly useful for a couple of reasons. Number one, trend analysis. If you see this ratio starting to climb, it might mean your business is facing a growing risk profile. But if it's decreasing, it could suggest your monitoring system is getting smarter and more efficient at filtering out the noise. Number two, benchmarking. How does your ratio compare to others in your industry or to public data from regulators like FinCEN? It's a great way to see where you stand and identify areas where you might need to improve. Okay, filing SARs is important, but you can't even get there without good data. Let's talk about that. Our next KPI gets to the foundation of any good AML program, your customer records. We're looking at the percentage of incomplete customer records. The math is simple. Take the number of customer files with missing info, divided by your total number of customers, and multiply by 100 to get a percentage. This KPI is a direct health check on your customer due diligence, or CDD, process. If this percentage is high, it tells you that your process for collecting critical information is failing. By tracking this, you can pinpoint gaps in your customer onboarding and implement fixes to improve your data collection right away. Now, a great process is nothing without great people to run it. That's where training comes in. An AML program is only as strong as its people, which brings us to the training completion rate. This measures the number of employees who finished their training divided by the total number of employees shown as a percentage. And a keynote here, employees should include everyone, even your directors and the board of directors. A low completion rate is a major risk. It tells you that there are people in your organization who might lack the knowledge to spot and mitigate threats. This metric is perfect for evaluating how effective your training programs are and for identifying where you need to improve them. Okay, so your team is trained and your processes are in place, but then the auditors show up. How do you measure your response? Let's talk about independent evaluations, typically referred to as AML audits. How you respond is critical, which leads to the independent evaluation response KPI. You can track this by looking at the number of findings from an independent evaluation versus the number of findings you've actually resolved. This is a key metric for risk assessment. It helps to see in black and white where your AML controls are weak and require improvements. It also helps guide your resource allocation. You can use it to prove you're putting your people and budget where they're needed most to fix problems and strengthen your program. It's not just about if you fix audit findings, it's about how fast you do it. That brings us to the time to address independent evaluation findings. This formula calculates the average time it takes to fix a problem. You just take the total time spent addressing all findings and divide it by the number of findings you had. Speed is everything here. Addressing audit findings promptly helps you minimize the risk of regulatory fines or serious reputational damage. This metric is also a great tool for process improvement because it allows you to evaluate the efficiency of your compliance team and find bottlenecks that are slowing you down. Speaking of finding problems, how do you know if your initial risk assessment is even any good? This next KPI gets to the heart of a risk-based approach: risk assessment accuracy. You measure this by taking the number of high-risk areas your assessment correctly identified and dividing that by the total number of high-risk areas that actually exist. This is crucial for making sure you're prioritizing your resources on the threats that matter most. It also helps with compliance monitoring because you need to be able to show regulators that your risk assessments are effective and actually work. By tracking this, you can constantly improve your risk assessment tools and methodologies. Last but not least, let's look at the very top. How do you measure oversight? Let's talk about governance and oversight. A simple but powerful KPI here is the frequency of your AML committee meetings. The calculation is just the number of meetings you held over a specific time period, like a quarter or a year. This metric is about more than just checking a box. It ensures you're meeting regulatory requirements for committee oversight. More importantly, it shows that your leadership is actively engaged in identifying new risks and providing adequate oversight of the entire AML program. Consistent meetings mean compliance is getting consistent attention from the top down. So there you have it, a whole dashboard of powerful AML KPIs you can start using today. Remember, what gets measured gets managed. These metrics aren't just about satisfying auditors. They're about building a smarter, stronger, and more efficient compliance program that truly protects your organization. Which of these KPIs do you think is most valuable? Let me know in the comments below. And if you got any value out of this video, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more content on all things AML compliance. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.